Hey there, this is Dora from Write with Magic, and today I want to talk about one of the things that affects all writers at some point, and that is procrastination. Procrastination seems to be a real enemy to writing. You get everything together, you're prepared, you have a great idea, and then when it comes time to write, you just find other things to do. These little things sneak up on you, check email, check your social media, and then before you know it, a bunch of time went by, and you didn't get anything done, at least not when it comes to writing. So today I want to give you a couple of tips, what you can do when you recognize that you have procrastination so that you can actually get some good writing done. So the first tip, as I already said it, is to recognize it. So many times when things sneak up on us, they seem like they are really, really important in the moment. You say, oh, I really need to check my email. I really need to respond to this person. But when you get down to it, when you look at it from an outside perspective, you recognize it's actually not urgent. It's not something that has to be done in this moment. So it's actually much better if you recognize that you are procrastinating. It's better to recognize it and to accept it than to try to resist it and be like, oh yeah, as soon as I respond to this email, I'm going to go back to my writing and just really try to resist it. It's much better to just recognize it, accept it, and know that it's always going to be there. There's always going to be a part of you that's going to want to procrastinate. So that's the first step, is just to recognize it. The second step is to accept that you're always going to be scared of writing. It's a really terrifying process because you're putting yourself out there. You're very vulnerable. You're expressing yourself, and you're putting yourself out there for judgment. And no matter how many books you've written, how many articles, blog posts, when it comes time for that next thing to write, you're going to feel terrified. And I know this from best-selling authors that even after they've written a book that was on the bestsellers list and they made a lot of money, when it comes time for that next book, they feel like they don't have it in them, that they're not going to be able to match that previous success. So take it from best-selling authors that writing is always going to be a terrifying experience, but you can still write despite feeling terrified. I know that's kind of a strange concept to accept, but yeah, that's how best-selling authors write. And I've read this from multiple people now, that they're able to write even though they feel terrified. And some of those feelings of feeling terrified actually go away as you do more writing. But just know that if you try to find a solution so that you're not going to feel terrified while writing, well, that's not going to happen. So just accept it. And then the third step is to tap into the emotion of what you're trying to write. If you're just writing facts, 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 it's going to be a really boring read. It's going to be really difficult for you to write. Many people say that when you have writer's block, it's because you're not really tapped into your emotions of what you're trying to convey to your audience. When you're tapped into that emotion, whether it's fear, love, gratitude, joy, anxiety, terror, panic, if you're tapped into one of those emotions, the words are just going to flow out of you. Think about it. If you met somebody for coffee and you wanted to tell them a story and tell them about how scary it was, you wouldn't have any trouble telling the story. The words would just pour out of you. You just tell the story and convey the emotion. And so with writing, it's the same thing. As long as you're tapped into the emotion, the words are going to flow. So I wanted to give you a story to illustrate this, which is about my book choice. And that book brings awareness to mental health problems and to the choices that we have in our lives when we have mental health problems. And there were times while writing this book that I felt very vulnerable. I felt very scared, terrified. But as soon as I tapped into that emotion of the freedom of knowing that we have choices, the words started to flow. And so if you're not able to write, it's most likely because you're not tapped into those emotions that you want to convey. And if ever you're stuck, just imagine telling the story that you want to tell to a friend over coffee. Just imagine telling them that story, and I think the words are going to flow. So I hope these three tips were helpful for you. Again, recognize if you're procrastinating. Also accept that you're always going to feel scared and terrified of writing. And third, tap into that emotion that you want to convey through your story. So I know this is all well and good, but how do you make sure that you keep up your momentum? Well, I created a really great tool for you, a daily writing checklist, which is going to help you to take care of those errands, those logistics, just to help you to get organized for writing. And you can download it at writewithmagic.com/checklist. So these tips are going to help you with the day-to-day logistics. How do you make time? How do you create space? What are you going to write about? How much time you should block out for it? All these little logistics the checklist is going to help you to do. So you don't really need to think about those logistics, and you can really focus more on your writing and telling that great story that is already in you. It's already in you. This is the story. You just need to allow it through. So again, go to writewithmagic.com/checklist. And I look forward to hearing about your writing success stories.